Welcome to Show Me the Money with Michael Dirk. Show Me the Money is a podcast that is bringing in industry leaders in the commercial real estate sector that are either on the financing side, the development side, the acquisition side, disposition, brokers, investors, bankers, management companies, everyone that's in and out of the business and all facets of the trade, so that hopefully you can benefit if you're looking to grow your business, start your business, or maybe transition into something else. On this episode of Show Me the Money by Michael Dirk, we have Mr. Mark Schurgin, who's the CEO and founder of Festival Properties, a huge retail investment firm that does acquisitions, development, repositioning, and then eventually dispositions of commercial real estate all over the United States, covering 25 states, and has been very successful in his ventures. Please stay tuned, and this is going to be a very special episode with Mark. This episode was sponsored by Pan American Property Management. It's a great company, management company based right here in California with over 40 years of experience in property management, operated and owned by Rick Hegler and his family, has been in the business and really execute at a very high level. They have significant construction background, repositioning properties from top to bottom, from small rehab to mid to a very, very heavy deep gut. I've seen them take properties down to the studs before. I definitely think they would be a great asset for you and your property if you are looking for a new management team. Rick and his team at Pan American have been excellent for our clients over the years, and definitely strongly recommend giving them a chance to earn your business. Please check the show notes for more and give Pan American a shot. This show was also sponsored by Nima Hadian. Nima is president and CEO of the Nima Group, a very powerful group at Marcus & Millichap. They are investment brokers and have a full team up in our Century City office. And Nima has been one of our top performers across the country for many, many years. I definitely recommend if you're looking for a BOV or just a consultant or looking to potentially buy properties, expand your portfolio, or looking to trade out of assets and talk about the different moratoriums or things happening in LA County, no one would be better to talk to than Nima and his team. Again, very extensive background, very polished, experienced, and they will get right down to the point. He's looking at a long-term relationship rather than just a transaction. Again, give Nima Hadian and his team at the Nima Group an opportunity, and I don't think you'll be let down. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Show Me the Money by Michael Dirk. We have Mark Schurgin today, CEO of Festival Properties. Mark is the co-founder and chairman of Festival Companies. And Mark, thank you for coming today too. It means a lot. Long-standing relationship, and I'm going to go through your bio, so I just want to say thank you. His sharp entrepreneurial instincts and real estate investment acumen have produced exceptional returns for partners and clients. With over 40 years of national commercial real estate experience, Mark has been involved in the sourcing and creation of more than $5 billion of retail and mixed-use properties. Yes, everyone, $5 billion with a B. Mark's development background also includes the development and syndications of more than 30 multifamily and condominium projects. Mark heads up all investment strategies and investor relationships and oversees the firm's corporate direction. Mark Schurgin serves as trustee and executive board member of the International Council of Shopping Centers, also known as ICSC, and a member of the CRC Blue Council of Urban Land Institute, also known as ULI. He is a graduate of the University of Colorado and is an active guest speaker for numerous industry organizations and sits on the executive boards of several charities. In 2008, Mark and Rosalind Schurgin established through ICSC Foundation the Graduate Schurgin Family Foundation Scholarship. The Schurgin Family Foundation gives annual scholarships to provide college tuition assistance to undergraduate students who are studying retail, real estate, or a related field. The scholarships are the Schurgin family's legacy to give back to the industry that has brought them so much fulfillment. Mark, that's excellent. Great resume. Thank you for coming again, and thanks for being philanthropic too. So,
my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, Mike.
Of course. Well, jumping right in, what does the last year at Festival look like, for you and your team, and what has transpired there? If you can kind of touch on that.
Sure, of course. But I wanted to start by thanking you for inviting me.
Yes.
I'm really pleased to. I've known you for a long time.
Yes.
And I am very pleased. And we have a lot of respect for the Marcus and Millichap Company. We've done a lot of business with you guys. You have a tremendous cadre of great brokers and entrepreneurs, and so we're pleased to keep working with you. Very much so.
It's a great synergy.
In the last 12 months, I would say the least, the economy has been pretty terrible. The real estate business has been challenging at best, with the industry down significantly with respect to retail, office, residential. It requires a special, unique talent to wind your way through this and to become successful.
Right.
So I must say that it's been extremely difficult for the last year, in the last 6 months specifically, because mortgage rates have just skyrocketed up, making it very difficult to get positive leverage or even leverage that where we normally would borrow a 65% loan. Now we're borrowing 50 to 55% loan, and that requires more equity. So
Right.
It's been a difficult assignment to figure out how do you buy something, how do you make it profitable, and is there enough upside at a later point to make it to balance out
Relative to the risk.
Yeah.
Well, good. And so in this market right now, kind of just going right into it, do you see yourself as, more of a buyer today, or given all those variables, would you consider yourself a net seller?
We try not to sell. Unfortunately, we sell a lot of properties. But my goal is every time I buy one, I fall in love with it, and I say, I'm never going to sell it. But unfortunately, sometimes we do.
Right.
And
I guess what is that strike point? So if you are selling something, is that some kind of exit or a sunset of the fund, or is that if you hit a certain rate of return, or is there some other motivating factor as to why you'd be selling an
it
asset?
just depends. We sold our biggest asset, Escondido Promenade, this year we owned it for 26 years with our partner Federal Realty.
Okay.
And we sat down with Federal and we said, it's time. It's time for you to buy us out. They bought us out.
Okay.
And we've got $30 million cash in the bank to invest. And so that's a great war chest.
Tell us a little bit about that property. How many square feet is it? What type of tenant profile?
Yeah, that was a huge power center on the 15 freeway in North San Diego County in the city of Escondido, 420,000 feet.
Wow.
We owned the whole thing, including the target. And we owned it free and clear with Federal Realty after a while. It just paid off the mortgage, which is nice.
That's great.
But it was time to sell.
Sure.
And because when you look at the income that you earn off of something and you make a 2% annual return on something that if you reinvested the money you could get a 6 or a 7 or even better, or with the potential for upside.
Right.
You might as well look to redeploy the money.
Sure.
And that's what we did. We currently are looking for several substitute properties, but they're all going to come into a 6% return or a 7% return. Not cap rate, but on cash.
Cash on cash
Cash
return.
on cash
Yes.
return.
Okay. And that's where you're really measuring everything is on cash on cash.
Right. I mean,
cap rate.
that's the bottom line of
Yeah, that's why you're investing, right?
That's why you
Yes.
invest, right?
Right.
We've just finished one of our a great property down the street here at Alicia and the 5 Freeway, Target Center. We redid the pad. We built a new pad there with 6 new tenants, just opening up. Fabulous property, and we've got 4 new properties that we already own the land and that we're going to be building come future. But with the new Peridium, you've got to really figure it out because if you did your pro forma 2 years ago, it doesn't work.
Right.
So you have to work on new economics, new metrics, so that things get more realistic. You have to be realistic about things.
Sure, of course. What are you in building a property today? Say you're going to stabilize it, next month. What are you looking at that exit cap rate or interest rate, what parameters are you using today?
Well, the old properties that we did last year, we were looking to build at about a 6 or 6.5 cap rate, create a profit at a 5, 4, depending on who the tenants were, and that worked. Today, that 6 cap rate is probably your market, so you're going to build the property and make no profit. Okay. So you got to be very, very careful going forward. And we either have to wait until the market catches up, or the cap rates get better, or rents get better.
Right. What are you, given the economy right now, obviously the cost of living has gone through the roof over the last couple of years. I think for most, the average person who's shopping at these retail centers that you own and operate. So obviously tenants are looking at their revenue based on what they can pay for rent. So it all is a pretty big domino effect.
Everyone's getting squeezed.
Everyone's getting squeezed across the board for sure.
Right.
Cost of everything.
There is the lenders aren't happy, the developers aren't happy, the tenants aren't happy. Everyone's having to really work, but yet everyone's willing to do business and continue to do business.
Great, that's good. That's really good to hear. Just looking at restaurants. I eat out at restaurants, from time to time, and the cost of just going out for a simple lunch, could be $40 or $50 without any alcohol or anything, just a basic lunch. And I sit there and scratch my head and just, is this really sustainable? So I guess my question is, are your tenants, as far as a rental basis, are you still able to increase rents with your tenants across the board on a retail basis? Or are tenants kind of saying, hey, uncle, we got to kind of pause and hit the pause button here? What are you seeing? I know it's probably different from tenant to tenant, but what's the consensus?
Yeah, it's certain tenants are doing phenomenally. Okay. And luckily, leasing is still very, very strong. It hasn't slowed down because there's less properties that are available and less vacant properties that are available. That's the only bright side of the development area is
occupancy is
occupancy.
Strong.
Occupancies are strong. We're seeing rents go through that where we would normally get $4 a foot per month. Now we're seeing $6 a foot per month.
That's a big jump.
It's a big jump because that's what it takes to operate with the financing, with the expenses, with the cost.
Insurance costs and all the CAMs being passed through to tenants.
Sure.
The tenants on a triple net basis are absorbing all these costs.
Well, supposedly, yes.
Right, yeah.
You hope they do.
It's all negotiable, right?
Right.
Triple net is a very loose term in the industry, right? It depends on what's really included in those charges and what gets passed on to the landlord.
Well, especially when you say I'll digress for a second here. When you say triple net lease, especially in Southern California, if you've got the roof and the structure, you're responsible. That's a big cost. We have earthquake insurance on every one of our properties.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we just will not take a chance.
Okay.
Earthquake could happen any moment, and happens instantly.
Right.
Fire you can probably get part of it pulled out, or if some car crashes into your shopping center, that's one thing, but an earthquake can wipe you out.
Right. No, that's good. And there's two schools of thought. Some people obviously have earthquake insurance, some people don't, just depending on weighing out the variable if Mother Nature does come and hit it. But if it does happen, that's pretty traumatic, and that would be devastating, obviously, to the value of that real estate. So, how do you and your team evaluate opportunities for development, value add, and then maybe on a disposition basis? What is your team actively doing that, especially for development? What do you key in on? Are you focused on the location? Are you focused on the demographics, or what are you really zeroing in on to see what's a good development opportunity? Because I know you have such more experience than anyone I know in retail, that you've done so much business all along the Western Hemisphere as far as building retail real estate.
Right. We have built a lot of shopping centers. We've built in 25 different states. At one time, we were Marshall's clothing chain's biggest landlord.
Okay.
We are pretty much concentrating on the West right now. And I say that, but then all of a sudden we're looking in Chicago, or we're looking we're looking in Pittsburgh even.
Sure.
I have a team of 4 people, including myself, that do nothing but spend time looking for opportunities. We look for development, we look for acquisition, we look for redevelopment properties. So we will look at pretty much anything.
Okay.
We've even bought the ground floor of mixed-use buildings. We at one time were going to acquire we acquired a series of ground floor buildings, ground floor of residential buildings. Very tough, though. I must tell you, that's a very tough industry to know, because usually who builds those are residential people, and they build the retail below. And unfortunately, the windows are this wide, very narrow. They have columns in the wrong place.
There's not enough parking, right?
Oh, please, don't even mention parking. Parking is on the bottom level. Ceilings are 9 foot high instead of 20 foot or 15 foot high. So you've got to really know that business has not matured and has not reached a point where it's become a real speciality yet.
It's almost like a throwaway. It's an amenity for the tenants, for their multifamily to drive their rents. But on the retail side, as an owner of that, you're just at the whim of, whatever they're going to pay.
Well,
right?
it's a city planner's dream. That's
it.
what they all want. And unfortunately, it doesn't help.
It's
a
not
lot
in
of
reality.
people.
It's not logical.
there are very few. Only when a retail developer designs it with retail and then plans office above will you see something work. It may not work residential wise, but the retail will work.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Looking back at, COVID, that was just a few years ago, how did you and the company fare with, tenants that all of a sudden just said, well, hey, we're not paying or can't pay or whatever it was? Did you and the company weather the storm very well through that, or were you scared at times?
Well, you're always scared. You're always questioning. With respect to COVID, we were very, very assuming. We worked with our retailers. We worked with the tenants. If somebody was just trying and whatever, if some of the big retailers, like I think we had Cheesecake Factory, well, they filed bankruptcy, and we have them in Honolulu. They're doing $14 million a year out of that store, and they want a rent relief. And we said, wow. Hey, sorry, it ain't going to happen. but we're a mama papa works, and I mean where it's their whole life.
Right.
We work with the people, and we forgave rent, we pushed rent out, we did whatever it took to keep them alive.
Got it. Okay, interesting. And what some tenants that are, maybe if you can touch on for some of the viewers here, what tenants are really thriving today? Maybe if you can give a sample of a subset, and then maybe some tenants that aren't doing as well today. What were maybe some examples?
Well, certain restaurants are doing phenomenal. The new takeout with Grubhub and Postmates
or
and
Uber Eats,
the Uber Eats, those tenants have a whole new segment of business that they didn't have before, and that really helps them. In fact, I just noted that California Chicken, I don't know if that's a small chain in L.A. They're closing.
There's one up in Santa Monica. Is that?
They're closing down their dining room.
Oh, really?
They only want to do takeout. I
really?
mean, so that's
it helps on the labor too. The labor's got to be tough.
Exactly,
Yes.
and so it's very exciting that they've figured out a way to make more profits for their business, and they have a great product.
Right, and that's why I think a lot of these retailers as well are, some restaurants may only do, like fast food especially, only focused and pay a premium for drive-through, right? So the drive-through is a huge benefit. Even like Starbucks, sometimes I find if I go into Starbucks for a cup of coffee, it's faster to stay in the drive-through than it is to go in, even though there's one or two people waiting inside the store, because they're so focused and so efficient on the drive-through. They're focused on that volume.
Right. Well, yeah, you're right. The drive-through restaurants they can do 20 or 30% more business with a drive-through than they can with just without one. Starbucks insists on a drive-through, I would say 95% of the time now.
Okay.
They're a great tenant. We've done 40 or 50 Starbucks.
Wow.
You
mean when you say you built them and then leased them to Starbucks?
Or in a shopping center, we we leased a drive-through on an end to a Starbucks. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. And what are some of the more challenging tenants that you're dealing with out there today? Well,
anything that's a department store is very difficult there. They just can't get their act together, mainly because they're based in a regional mall. The regional malls are having a very difficult time right now, not getting the traffic. I mean, we've owned 3 regional malls, and luckily we don't own one now. But it was they're much more challenged now than they were 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Okay. Would you buy a mall today?
Only if there was an opportunity to do something else. Knock it down.
Okay.
Lease it to a medical user, the whole thing. Lease it to a college. Lease it, there's
some alternative use. So
completely.
A regional mall today where it sits as it stands, aside from, some anomalies like maybe Fashion Island here in Orange County where, the place is always booming, but most regional malls in most areas are struggling in essence. And especially if you lose an anchor or two, then all of a sudden everything else seems to go down from there. So you would be looking at the highest and best use would be something other than a regional mall. Absolutely.
I mean, there are only 300 regional malls out of 3,000 that are viable.
Okay.
If you look at, Cheyenne, Wyoming, whatever, I would not want to own the regional mall there for anything.
Got it. Okay.
Because you look at some of these malls and they have a kids playground area, or they convert to a gym. Maybe that's about the kind of thing that they
Sure.
can convert to. But some of the tenants are very, very weak. The costs, they have air conditioning, heating, and expenses that don't go away because they're enclosed regional malls.
Sure.
Very, very tough.
What would you say of all the properties you've done over your career, owned, operated, redeveloped, built, which one are you most proud of and why?
You asked me that question, and I've been thinking about it, and I wrote down, I can't only say one.
Okay. Just give me 2.
I'll give you 5, unfortunately.
Okay.
We built a property called Ross Plaza in Roland Heights, San Gabriel Valley. That was the first power center in Southern California.
Wow.
A power center being described as a shopping center without a supermarket.
Okay.
Very successful. We were right across from a regional mall, the Puente Hills Regional Mall. Great property, and that was really our first big property.
Okay.
We built Escondido Promenade, which I mentioned, which we just sold to
down.
Federal Realty. That was actually an assemblage of 120 different properties. And
Wow.
the beauty of that was those were the days when we had redevelopment agencies that would stand behind you and say, if you don't sell, we're going to help you buy it. So that's an 80-acre property, a full mile on the freeway. I mean, tremendous property. And Federal owns that now, and we're happy that they own it, and we're happy we were part of it.
That's great.
We built a property in Glendale area called Franciscan Promenade, which was an 80-acre site. We ended up only getting 25 acres ultimately because it was a toxic site, and we cleaned the entire site up.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was very, very
So
difficult.
environmentally contaminated site, you're okay with that? You'll just dig right in, literally, figuratively? And
Well, we know environmental. We're
Okay.
okay to do that. Certain properties just, no matter what you do to them, you can't economically make them work once you clean them up.
Okay.
It just doesn't happen sometimes.
Right.
So we owned a property on Rodeo Drive. That was our keynote property, and that when we had our fund with Goldman Sachs, it was called the Gucci Building, and we overpaid for it way back when,
Okay.
and then resold it for $108 million, if you can imagine, to
Wow.
one of the wealthiest people in the world.
Would you pay for that building?
We paid $39 million.
39 and sold it for 108.
Yeah.
How many years later was that?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you put Gucci in?
No, Gucci was there.
They were
We
there.
just renegotiated their lease at
Okay.
a later point.
Wow.
And then I've got to say that with my partner Rosalind, we have redeveloped the Royal Hawaiian Shopping Center in Honolulu. We were partners with Kamehameha Schools, and we were on a development contract and redeveloped that shopping center into a spectacular property.
Wow.
Very high end, with great tenants, all AAA national high end luxury type tenants.
And the tourists just come through there, and that's a
Well,
great.
now they're coming back. We relied on the westbound tenants, which were customers, which were Japanese,
Okay.
and they've been locked down. They're finally opening up Japan, so now our sales are starting to really climb up.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
That's excellent. People have highs and lows in their career or in life. And one part of the show I like to do is talk about someone as successful as yourself, maybe a high point in your life and maybe a low point, and how you came back from that low point, because we all have that, and it helps, the viewers really understand how successful people persevere.
I'm a positive person, outgoing positive person.
Yes, you are.
I really don't have any. I'm proud to say I can't remember the morning that I woke up and said, I don't want to go to work at festival anymore.
Because you love what you do.
I love what I do. And so even though there's been adversity and difficult times, we've just worked through them. You work a little harder. I mean, I unfortunately work very long hours.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll leave the office at 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
It seems like you may not have to be as smart, but if you put in more hours, you become smart.
You catch up to the smart people if you work longer.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So I'm very proud of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, good. And then maybe if you can touch a little bit, we talked on your resume with you and your wife talking about what the scholarships and the foundation you've set up. If you can kind of tell us a little bit about that. I love the philanthropy that you do, and if you can kind of tell the viewers a little bit about that.
Yeah, my wife and I created the Schurgin Family Foundation, and our first real major gift was with ICSC, where we established a best and brightest scholarship for undergraduate students. It doesn't matter where they are, doesn't matter if they're tall, short, white, black, green, whatever. It was really based on best and brightest.
Okay.
And that had been going along for a few years, and then all of a sudden, one time, at one of our interviews of these students, we found this one young man who had become unbelievably entrepreneurial. He didn't have really great grades, didn't have bad grades, but didn't have great grades, and he had a parking lot striping company where he painted spaces in parking lots. And we kind of looked at ourselves and said, well, this guy won't qualify it, so we better do an entrepreneurial scholarship. So we endowed a second scholarship with ICSC for entrepreneurial. Wow. And that's some of the greatest stories come out from the interviews when these kids tell us what they do, how they earn their degree by doing X, Y, or Z and working. And that's a very, very exciting thing.
Oh, that's terrific.
It's interesting. I've thought about it a lot. People don't naturally give. You have to have a mentor. You have to have somebody teach you how to give. Most, if you give a little baby a toy, and you say, give it to me. No, they don't want to. But in order to give away something, you have to be taught to do that.
Right.
And it's I'm very honored that my parents were into charity. They gave money, and it's allowed me to think very strongly about giving money. And thank God I've got a little income that I can give away, and I'm happy to do it. But to give away to people that are deserving or in need,
yes,
spectacular.
Yes, it's very fulfilling, and it just feels good to help people, and just good people sometimes really just need a little boost to go to the next level. So in a wrap up here, what are you forecasting for the next, say, 6 to 12 months, Mark? What, given the tribulations, everyone knows where we've been and where we are today, but what do you see in the next year or two coming out? Like what are your feelings on everything?
Oh, I really see two directions.
The crystal ball, where is it?
First of all, I wish I knew. But there are really only two directions that it can go. It can go much worse. We can have a recession. We can have all sorts of this political infighting, terrible, terrible situations.
Sure.
Or the country can get back on its feet and, smarter, wiser people will somehow prevail. And
Sure.
We're really trying to look at both directions. What happens if the economy goes really bad? What do you do? I mean, you're not going to go out and build a big project and fight it through if you can't get a mortgage and if you can't get tenants and if you can't
Right.
and if costs are so high. You've got to look. And on the other hand, you've got to look and say, look, we're in the best country in the world. We're the United States of America, which is
that's for sure.
a tremendous country, and we got great people here, and only hope that the politics can get straightened out. I won't discuss politics, which
Good luck
is
on
good.
that one.
We'll be here for 3 more hours, and we'll end up in fist fight.
It's funny.
But
Yeah.
if the financial market, and from our business, if the financial markets right themselves, and right themselves mean even stabilize, if we know where they're going to end up, that will get us.
You can underwrite a true exit, and you
Yeah.
understand the variables, because there's
Right.
too many variables on these deals as it stands to not be able to underwrite and indicate what that looks like down the road. You're just kind of throwing darts in the dark.
Sure, it'll ultimately, if the finance market stabilizes, we will ultimately know how to guide our business, how to direct our business, and we can get into more activity, finish up.
Okay, great. Well, everyone, that was a great honor to have you today, Mark. He's a legend in the retail business, and please look up more things on Mark because he's been very active all over the country, building in 25 states. So it's truly been an honor to have you today. So thank you. We've done business together on many sides, so I'm super thankful for the relationship, and I'm thankful for you coming down.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone enjoyed the episode, and have a great day, everyone. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.